I'm really delighted that you're here. This is a very unusual thing for me to be speaking to just a very, very, very small, really unusual, very small group of people, and to be invited to a profound, important, and small, incredible event like Life Talks. But I happen to have deep love and fondness for the president of Life University. You go way, way, way back, Dr. Guy Reekman. And if he asked me to do anything, I would say yes. So I didn't even know what I was saying yes to. I just said, whatever it is, I want to come and lend my energy and my presence. So I'm very, very happy that you're here. I'm very happy that I was invited. And I'm really want to start by just honoring the amazing place that we're in, what this place stands for, which is bringing more consciousness into the world, bringing more love into the world, bringing more wisdom into the world, more awakening. There are not a lot of places on the planet just dedicated to helping to educate people to be their best and to serve people to be their best. So I feel privileged, since that's what I do, to be able to come and be in that environment. And some of you are affiliated with this place, some of you are just guests, some of you are from the community, but whatever it is, you have an appointment with me, and I thank you for keeping it, and I have an appointment with you, and I'm happy that I flew in last night from Santa Barbara, California, to be able to be here. I always like to think that when you come to anything in your life, whether it's a conference or a lecture, a seminar, it appears that you're coming to, a ballroom or to a gym in this case, or whatever it is, and that you're coming to learn something or listen. But I really believe that today and tomorrow, if you're going to be here, is more of a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is something that we take in life. You normally think of somebody going to India or to a beautiful national park or to the mountains somewhere. Pilgrimages are those things that we involve ourselves in and we hope we're going to be transformed completely. So you go somewhere amazing, or you go visit cathedrals, and when you go on a pilgrimage, you want to do two things. You want to leave behind something, some part of yourself, some fear, maybe a tragedy you've gone through, or some part of your life, and you also want to get something, so that when you come back, you're not the same. Nobody takes a pilgrimage to, a great Catholic, healing place, or to India, or to Tibet, or South America, in order to just see it. It's a different thing than taking a vacation or sightseeing. So even though we're in a place that does not look like a sacred space, I believe that you're here on a pilgrimage. And the pilgrimage, coming to hear the great speakers, coming to be inspired, is because some part of you is saying, I'm at a crossroads in my life. There's things I want to leave behind. There's things I want to take with me. How many of you just can feel that you're at some kind of crossroads of some sort? I normally only speak to people who are at a crossroads. They find me and I find them, or they come to a conference that I'm, involved with, whether there's 1,000 people or 5,000 people. And a lot of those people would be happy to know that there was this few people, because they would love to be able to spend that time. But a crossroads is a time in our lives when we are shifting, and we feel drawn to things, people, knowledge, to help us make that shift, in a sense to articulate that shift. So I welcome you as light workers and members of what I call the Cosmic Advance Team. The Cosmic Advance Team are those of us who came to this planet at this time of tremendous transition, wanting to help it shift, wanting to up-level its vibration. You may think, well, how do I know I'm a member of the Cosmic Advance Team? Nobody told me I was. I didn't get a degree in the Cosmic Advance Team, but I know it because you're sitting here. And because there's some part of you that speaks to you and says, more. Just that word, more. I want to learn more. I want to know more. I want to be more. I want to let go of more. I want to serve more. Those voices inside. I call those things that speak to us, that help us wake up in life, the sacred questions. You realize that most people on the planet, most people in Atlanta, most people anywhere today will not do anything significant for their consciousness. In fact, most people today will wake up and think, what can I do to enjoy myself or to forget about my problems or whatever it is. You chose to be awake today. You chose to learn, to grow, to heal, to open. So I really honor you for that choice. That is the choice that we all wish, don't we, that everybody on the planet would make. I know you must know people in your own lives who you wish would make the choice to improve themselves. How many of you know somebody that, or they're instant, I don't have to say anything, you're already seeing their face, right? Somebody you're thinking, if only they would just, eat better, take care of themselves, do something, learn, come to some seminar, read something. It's so obvious they need to grow. And it's heartbreaking when we see that that isn't happening. But you're here, and not just here, but each of us in this room has had a trajectory, a history of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours of our own path. Each person sitting here, just think of the hours of things you've read, the hours of things you've listened to, the hours of things you've studied, the hours that you've prayed, the hours that you've been out in nature trying to be inspired, the hours that you've sat and journaled, whatever you've done. Just your journey. You've already been on a very long journey to get here right now. And so has everybody else sitting here, and so has everybody else in this entire event. It may look just like normal people, but they're fellow travelers on the path. As is, I believe, everybody in this beautiful university, that it's as obviously dedicated to something higher. So I call the sacred questions those things that start us on those paths in our life. When I was a child, I was very confused about where I was and why the planet was the way it was. Anyone feel different as a child? I felt very different. Why are things this way? Why are people being so mean to each other? Why isn't there more love? Why sometimes do I feel so connected and then sometimes so disconnected? Why aren't people living at their highest? What am I supposed to be doing here? What is my purpose? I know I'm supposed to do something. How do I figure out what it is? These are what I call the sacred questions. They're questions of seekers. Have you ever had these questions inside yourself? You may think most people do, but I'm telling you right now that most people do not. Most people ask questions like, how much money can I make? When's the next movie? Things that are about enjoyment and sweetness, but not really about evolution. Most people on the planet will never even ask one sacred question. Or if they ask it, the fact that they don't know the answer is so disturbing, like why am I here, that they'll decide they're just going to go and have 5 beers or something, just to not feel those questions. The sacred questions are what starts us on our journey. I know that you've all asked them, and I know that's even why you're here, or you wouldn't have even seen the little advertisement of things I'm going to talk about and come. So I want to start by honoring each of you for your own path, for how many miles you've traveled, spiritual miles, in your life already, for all the things that you've all and each already overcome in your life. It's taken you so much to just get to be sitting here already, hasn't it, in your life? The things you've had to let go of, the things you've had to heal, the things you've had to forgive, the things you've had to remember. Each of you has a brave and courageous journey that you've already taken. And I do honor you for that journey. I'm honored to be in your presence as much as you may be excited, hopefully, to see me, because I know that we are all on that same path, traveling together. And the truth is, even though you may think you came to see me or hear me this afternoon, I believe you're actually here to see you, to hear you. Because the things I'm going to be sharing with you and offering you are about you, how to understand yourself, how to live in a way that's more awakened in yourself, how to be able to contact more of yourself. So it's not about me, it's about you, being part of what's happening. And I always use a phrase, your cosmic alarm clock has gone off. I believe that there's a cosmic alarm clock inside of us that starts us on a path of searching at some point in our life. How do you know it's gone off? You start asking those sacred questions. You start thinking, is there more to something? Am I supposed to be doing something? Sometimes you feel something in you and you don't even know what it is, but it's telling you that you're supposed to do something. You're supposed to remember something. This isn't just something that I made up. This is actually something that has been talked about over 2,000 years ago. When something awakens in you and starts you on a path of awakening. When I was doing research for my book, Soul Shifts, which is my 15th book, I was amazed to find in an ancient Indian scripture, and I've studied a lot of them, a description of something that happens inside of us when we start to search for more, that it's actually a profound spiritual event. And so I want to help frame your own life for you for a moment. Because one of the things that happens when we're seekers of any sort is many times we start to think something's wrong with us because we have so many questions, right? Something's wrong with us because we're looking. We're looking for solutions because obviously we need to be fixed. And that's a very Western and normal way to understand ourselves. I look at it the exact opposite way. That something inside of you, that cosmic alarm clock goes off and we don't push the snooze button and just starts to give us what I call the divine discomfort. The divine discomfort I wrote about when I wrote Soul Shifts. And people in my audiences, usually when I speak to tons of people, will just go, I know what that is. I've never even heard the phrase, but I have it. Whatever it is, I have the divine discomfort. Something in you saying it's time for something, or there's supposed to be a change, or there's something you need to learn, or there's something you need to know. A feeling of agitation, dissatisfaction that doesn't really have any source in your life. Restlessness, spiritual restlessness. Can you relate to some of these symptoms? I'm saying them so that you understand that nothing's wrong with you. You just are in the divine discomfort, a time of a lot of spiritual acceleration. A feeling that things don't make sense and yet you don't really want to change anything. A feeling of nothing seems to be filling you up in the way that it should. A feeling that there's something you're supposed to be doing, but you can't think of what it is. A sense of time pressure, that time is running out, even if you're 20, 30, 70. Some feeling that there's some urgency. I began looking at these symptoms in my own life decades ago and the lives of so many of my students, and named it the divine discomfort. Symptoms not of dysfunction, not symptoms that something's wrong with you. I call them symptoms of awakening. Symptoms of awakening. When you've woken up from a sleep of unconsciousness and are looking around and trying to remember, what am I supposed to be doing? What is my purpose on my soul journey? There's something bigger I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm not talking about a career. I'm not talking about going out and helping people in an active way particularly. I'm talking about your own inner journey, your own inner recalibration into your heart, your own inner way of living at a high vibration so that everybody around you is uplifted just by your presence. That's what the Cosmic Advance Team is. It's anyone who's helping on the outside, who's doing anything to help bring consciousness to the world, whether it's consciousness about food, consciousness about your body, consciousness about your emotions, helping to wake the planet up. And anybody who themselves is calling themselves to a higher way of functioning, of living, so that and we'll talk about vibration in a little bit, so that your actual vibration, your actual energy field is recalibrating people just by you walking around on the planet. This is actually what's taking place. And that journey has, as I said, symptoms of awakening that come with it that are not always completely comfortable. Let me give you a soul shift right now. No matter what is happening in your life right now, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you are facing, the hardest part on your soul journey is over. It's over. You woke up. You woke up and remembered you were asleep. It's the hardest part on the soul journey of whatever you believe in, this life, lifetimes, the hardest part, to wake up and say, I have been asleep. I haven't been as conscious as I could be. Most people never in this lifetime will wake up. They'll never even realize they were asleep. You must know people who are sleepwalking through life. All you have to do is look at the news, right? Watch television and see the planet sleepwalking. What does sleepwalking mean? It means when you're not conscious, when you're not in an awakened state, you can do all kinds of things that hurt people or hurt the planet and not even care about it because you're asleep. You know, it's kind of like if people who, I never was into alcohol, but you know, when you're in college and people are like, oh my God, I got so wasted. I don't know, what did I do? Just tell me what I did last night. What did I say? Where was I? Because I don't remember anything. That state of intoxication, unconscious intoxication, is how most people are living. And the answer to one of the sacred questions, why can people be so horrible to each other? Why can horrible things happen? Why can people let horrible things happen? Why can people pollute? Why can people, on and on. The answer, the sum of it is because they're asleep. Because when you start to wake up, when you start to become conscious, when you start to have a sense more of living in connection and harmony with the land, with each other, with everything, and start to have what all the great spiritual texts from the Bible to the ancient Indian texts talk about as beginning to have a sense of unity, consciousness, oneness. You always hear, may everything be one. You see the word one, throughout all scriptures. Oneness doesn't mean the idea, I know, I'm one, it's all the same. It means actually feeling an energetic connection, whether it's to the land, to a mountain, to a person, to a stranger, to an animal, to a flower, so that harming it becomes impossible. You understand this? It would be like harming your child, or your husband, or your dog, or your cat. You wouldn't think of it. So that sense of separation from everything, that we're all wandering around, in our own world, in our own bubble. Of course, I'm the center of my universe, and you're just, planets today that are passing by, and then I'll be somewhere else, and there'll be other planets. But you're the center of your universe, and I'm just a planet passing by today, right? I'm just a little blip on your radar. And that's the miracle of consciousness, is that all of us do believe we are the center of the universe. Isn't it amazing? You woke up, and the world is displayed for you, and the world is displayed for him, and you're all displayed for me. And we're all walking around somehow feeling we're the sun, the center, and everything is orbiting around us. It's really quite amazing if you think about it. These are the kind of things I was thinking about when I was 9, and you can imagine what a happy childhood I had. So oneness begins to, when we wake up to experiencing more of that oneness, really understanding that we're all vibrationally connected, which I'm going to talk about, that's when our behavior changes, that's when all kinds of things change. And consciousness and social awareness comes from, not really from the head, but ultimately it comes from an open heart, doesn't it? I know I should do this. I know I shouldn't throw this trash on the ground. I know I shouldn't waste water, whatever it is. I know I should be nice to my girlfriend, versus it doesn't feel right to me to not do that. That's what I mean by the path of awakening. It's a different way to understand it. And now, more than ever on our planet, it is essential that all of us wake up and awaken and figure out what that means. And I'm talking here to each of you and anybody who will watch this. Each of us to wake up as much as possible now. To wake up, to stay awake, to help wake other people up, because the planet is in a very strange place, isn't it? There's great battles of light and darkness that are evident in 1,000 areas, from, seeing the environment to politics, etc. You can see that things are revving up, in a sense. Things are way more stressful. The world is more stressful than it was 10 years ago, etc. So there's a big reckoning happening. I don't mean in the biblical sense, but it's happening because we're all so connected now that if something's happening across the world, you're able to practically watch it live, sitting here in Atlanta, where, imagine 100 years ago, or way less than that, your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, depends on your age, who were, for instance, in World War II, in Vietnam, most of those things people heard about. Once in a while they'd see a movie in a theater with, a few bits of footage. They'd see photos. But they weren't watching bombs go off in real time. They weren't watching fires in Canada happen as they spoke. They weren't watching people be killed. So what that's done to our brains, and the overstimulation of seeing the darkness, not just hearing about it, and realizing it doesn't matter where you live. You could live on a farm somewhere away from everything. But there is no away anymore. So now more than ever, I've been talking about this since New Year's, we are responsible to wake ourselves up, to clean up our situation in life, to serve any way we can. Because, why? We're members of the Cosmic Advance Team. We need to wake up and stay awake. The great Indian saint Ramana Maharshi is one of my favorite quotes, and he said, "Your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world." It's beautiful, isn't it? Your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world. I'm going to be talking about this because a lot of us think, what do I do for people? How can I serve? What kind of job should I get that can help the planet? Should I, I can donate to charity, I can do this and that. But what I've been teaching about for decades is that the awakening of the planet begins with you. Not only does it begin with you, but if you're not waking up, living the most conscious life possible, it's wonderful if you're doing other things that are helpful to people, but you're out of balance, which we're going to talk about. So I'm here because when my cosmic alarm clock woke up and I did not push the snooze button, I was fortunate enough to find a path of consciousness and spiritual growth and awakening at a very young age when I was 18 in 1969, when some of you were absolutely not born and were just not even a thought because your parents hadn't met yet. And I found a spiritual teacher and I began to go in, not out, but deep, deep, deep inside for many, many years because I wanted to prepare for, I didn't know what, but I knew I was supposed to get prepared. It was kind of like the Kevin Costner movie, Build It and They Will Come. I was supposed to do something, build me, and they will come. And it happened. But I knew even intuitively then that my transformation had to start on the inside, and then I could transform the world. I have a saying, transform yourself, transform the world. Not transform the world and be too busy to transform yourself. But transform yourself, transform the world. So what my life has been dedicated to has been mapping the path of awakening, the path of consciousness, creating maps so that people can travel more easily through their own process of growing, of changing, of shifting. And that's what I do and have done for a long time, which is helping people transform themselves so that they can go out and transform other people. Let me read you something from Soul Shifts, because I want to just, if nothing else, have you feel today that something really miraculous has happened to you because you have been on a path of searching and healing in your life. Even if you are in the baby part of the path, it doesn't matter. It really is a profound thing for all of you. And this is what I was talking about before, about that experience. So it says here, I like to read my own words, because if you don't, I always say if you don't like to read the words in your own book, you shouldn't write the book for anyone else. This is from a text written over 1,000 years ago. And it's talking about the thought of awakening, meaning those things that say, I should learn, maybe I should do yoga, maybe I should start reading a book, maybe I should become a chiropractor, maybe something that starts to spur you, whatever it is for any of you. And it says, these thoughts of awakening occur because an inner awakening has already spontaneously occurred as a cosmic event in the deepest regions of your individuality, an awakening that generates in you as a soul a turning towards wisdom, a turning towards freedom, and a turning towards enlightenment. This inner event, meaning you don't know what happened, but something happens on a spiritual level, it manifests within you as a rising up of the impulse to be searching for the truth. And it's what sets in motion your path towards teachers, studies, experiences, and ultimately your own attainment. So this is what the important part is. If you've begun your outer journey, so you all have, to some extent, then you must have already experienced an inner awakening. An inner awakening. It means that something profound and miraculous has taken place inside of you. The fact that you're seeking means you've already found something. You've already woken up and decided it's time to keep waking up. Then what happens is the things you think are coincidence or accidents, somebody tells you about a class, you read something that's whatever, a book falls off a shelf, you see something on TV. These are not random things. The universe then revs up and starts giving you the maps, putting things in your path. It's not that they come in your path and then you start to wake up. It's that you're already on a journey, on a path towards awakening, whatever that means in your own religious tradition. And because of that, things will start happening to you. It's why you're all sitting here. This is a profound thing to really appreciate because, and I know from going through this and from teaching thousands of people, because many times when we start to learn or study or grow or improve ourselves, one of the first things we experience when we wake up, as I always tell my students, is shock. I can't believe how much I have to work on. I can't believe all these patterns. I can't believe I was not paying attention to my body. I can't believe I was eating all that and I have to purify everything. I can't believe how out of balance I was. It's kind of like any of you who are chiropractors or going to chiropractic college. It's the first time you go to a chiropractor. I can't believe everything's out. I can't believe how... Because when we've been asleep, we miss a lot. So one of the things that I try to really encourage people that I speak to adopt is to understand that if you've already begun on a path of self-improvement, that you are special, you're blessed, you are part of the Cosmic Advance team that's waking everybody else up, that it doesn't happen overnight, but because you're experiencing it, it means that the most important thing, the hardest part is over. You remembered that you were asleep and you woke up. And I really mean the hardest part is over. This is a big takeaway, hopefully, for you to contemplate and to think about for yourselves. And to also realize that nothing that's happened to you has been random. Nothing that has helped you. No one who's come into your life. It's all part of that amazing map that's actually there for you. I want to talk to you for a minute about spiritual velocity. Because we're also in times of tremendous acceleration on the planet. Tremendous agitation. How many of you in the last 6 months or year have felt just an increase in a certain kind of agitation that you can say it's from this and this, but things just feel more agitated to you? Raise your hands if you felt that. Yes, and everyone, you can just see everyone's raising their hands. It's not just that you are going through a hard time. These are very intense times. There's an increase of a lot of negative energy, right? There's an intensity of light trying to rise up. There's outer battles going on everywhere. And there are inner battles going on inside of you. The battle between your highest and your fear, between the part of you that has vision of how things should be or what you want, and the part of you that just wants to, go to sleep, go bowling and not think about anything, not be responsible for anybody. The part of you that wants to love and open and trust and continue to do that. The part that is afraid of pain. Those inner battles are intensifying everywhere. And the symptoms of spiritual velocity are important for you to understand yourselves. These are not things that you'll read anywhere, hear most people ever talk about. But when I talk to groups, I just was in Toronto a few months ago and spoke to a group of 5,000 people and was asking them, and that's where you really get that it's happening because it's not a few people nodding. How many of you are experiencing symptoms? And everyone's raising their hands and they're clapping because they're thinking, oh my God, I thought I was like having a nervous breakdown. No. If you're sitting in a boat and it's a motorboat and it's a nice day and you're on a lake or you're in Florida on the ocean or somewhere, and the boat's going really slowly. You can, your hair's all nice, you're relaxed, you're not getting wet. It's very comfortable, it's going putt, 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 putt. But what happens if somebody revs that boat up, like these extra super speed jet boats, and it starts going 100 miles an hour, whatever it goes. Everything is spraying, your hair is gone, your clothes are flying, you're holding on. Is it a comfortable ride? No, but you're going very fast. Can you see clearly what's happening? No, there's so much spray, you're not even able to see the view, but you're moving really fast. That is a great metaphor for when we are on our own path of growth, and there are times, and I would suggest that you're in one of those times, or were in it, maybe tried to get out of the boat for a while, but we are in times where there's a lot of velocity, and when you personally start to move through a lot of your issues, a lot of your patterns, a lot of the healing, it will be like sitting in that speedboat where you can't see things clearly, it's uncomfortable, you try to get things in control, which we'll talk about in a minute, and everything's out of control. It doesn't mean something bad is happening. It actually means you're going very fast. So sometimes not knowing what's happening is a symptom that a lot is happening. Knowing exactly what's happening can be a symptom that you're going very slowly. Doesn't this make sense? So I'm just trying to help you shift, have what I call soul shifts, to see things from a higher perspective instead of all of that. I wrote my book Soul Shifts because I really wanted to help people at this point, and I've written a lot of books, go faster and have an easier time in their own journey towards whatever it is they were going towards. There's two main points about this. Number one, you've all had soul shifts in your life. You've had moments where maybe you're standing out looking at a mountain, or you're up, in the hills somewhere, or you're in church, or you're meditating. You have a moment of expansion, a moment of clarity, a moment of love. Maybe you're holding somebody you love. Maybe it was at the birth of one of your children. And suddenly you feel like you're everything and you're everywhere, and it all somehow makes sense for a moment, right? And everything's beautiful. And in that moment, I had a peak experience, or I had a high experience. But then it goes away. And most of us have been trained to believe that we have to kind of wait for those moments to happen. That, maybe I'll have another one. Maybe if I take a hike, I'll have a moment. Maybe if I lie down and meditate, or maybe if I go to a yoga class, I'll have another moment of some kind of clarity, some kind of awakening. In my work and in my studies, what I've come to understand is that those moments don't just happen randomly. There's a set of inner circumstances that create you being able to quickly hook in to your highest, most enlightened self. So it's not that you have to just wait. You don't have to wait. There's a formula, what I call it in my book, formulas for transformation. Certain environments, this is what I create when I do my seminars, environments in which, inner environments, you will be able to see clearly, understand clearly, and shift. So it's not random. And the second reason I wrote my latest book, and the second thing I wanted to present to you, is the idea that sometimes we're at our best and sometimes we're not. Sometimes we feel great, sometimes we don't. And that it's just like the weather, it's weather in Georgia, which could change in any minute, which sounds like it just did. One minute it's raining, the next minute it's nothing. The next minute it's hailing, the next minute. So we think, I'm having a bad day. There's no such thing as a bad day unless it's, some tragedy. Something happened inside of you to get you to feel the way you're feeling. We don't just feel crummy. We drift into feeling that way. And the other thing happens too. We don't just feel amazing, awakened, loving. Something happens. So what I've been studying for years is, what is it? We all have our highest. You all have had some moment in your life when you can think, I was at the most clear, the most loving ever. And then you've all had your lowest. And many things in between. It's not arbitrary where you are on that scale. There's reasons you end up at the basement. There's reasons you end up at the penthouse. There's reasons you end up in between. And that's what transforming from the inside out means, learning and understanding that process. And that was my contribution in writing. And I call it, again, conditions for awakening, moment by moment awakening. What helps you lead a life of more awakening, more clarity, more wisdom, more love, more integrity, the theme for this conference, to me is one thing, and it's the same thing, and I call it my Soul Shifts mantra. It's the willingness to see, to really see. Everything in life that has ever happened to you that then became something wonderful is because you saw something, you understood something, you got something, you realized something. I always tell people, don't pray to grow, pray to see. You see, I want to grow, or I want to be, a loving person, or I want to be smarter, I want to serve people, is fine. The problem is there's other parts of you inside that are going to collide with that. I want a great relationship, and another part saying, but I don't want to get hurt. See, right there you have a little disagreement between two parts of your personality. I want to make a commitment, but I don't want to feel tied down. I want to serve the planet, but I never want to feel frustrated like no one's appreciating what I'm doing. Right there, you're in inner battles. I want to see. I want to see everything that I can see about myself, about the world, will be your ticket to major, major, major awakening. In Soul Shifts, I talk about what I call the Soul Shifts mantra. It's very simple, and it simply says, today, I'm going to see what there is to see, to feel what there is to feel, and to know what there is to know. Today, I'm going to see what there is to see. What does that mean? How do we function most days? Today, I'm going to see the things that I want, and anything that's upsetting, challenging, disturbing, or hurtful, I'm not going to even look at it. If I start to see something that bothers me, I'm going to go, you know what, I don't want to deal with this right now. Feel what there is to feel. Most of us have today, I'm going to feel only the things that feel good, and if it doesn't feel good, I'm going to, have a few glasses of wine, I'm going to watch 10 hours of TV, I'm going to do anything because I don't want to feel what there is to feel or see what there is to see. And to know what there is to know. Once you see enough and feel enough, knowingness spontaneously occurs. What's most people's mantra of the day? Today I'm going to see only the things that make me feel good about myself, and anything else I'm going to blame everyone else. I'm going to feel something, if it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, I'm going to figure out how to go unconscious and not feel it. And I only want to know things that are in agreement with how I see the world. And that's how most people live, including most of us. This is such a powerful thing. It's just even to wake up and say, I'm going to see what there is to see, to feel what there is to feel, and know what there is to know. And this is a very short explanation of what it is. And even if it's going into a meeting, going to a conference, going into a conversation, going back to see your family, how are you going to handle it? I'm going to see what there is to see. What's real? What's happening? I'm going to feel what there is to feel about it. And then I will know how to handle it. And it is a miraculous thing. I receive emails and posts, letters about this every day from all over the world. I just got one this morning. Because what it does, you see, when you say, I'm going to see what there is to see, not what I want to see, what there is to see, you've now taken the elevator to your highest consciousness. To feel what there is to feel, you've taken the elevator to the deepest part of your heart. To know what there is to know, you've gone to what I call the mountaintop of consciousness, to see things. You all can do this, because the truth is that we're wired for awakening. Our nervous system is wired for maximum love, maximum wisdom, maximum experience. We've just gotten very short-circuited. Our wires have gotten all twisted up. Our bodies have gotten all twisted up. So we're running on a much less efficient circuitry. It would be like, all the lights in here, all the things that are happening, the air conditioning. If somebody had pulled out half the circuits, if some of the wires were frayed, if they were knotted, if they were not connected properly, we wouldn't be having everything running as smoothly as it is. And that's how we are. Our consciousness is wired for awakening. I always say there's nothing missing in you. There's nothing missing you need to find or replace or put back. It's just that we turn off a lot of our circuits. We have a lot of missing connections. That is a fantastic piece of news. This is when I got this when I was 18, it changed my life, because I thought, what am I supposed to do? What do I need to get? What do I need to put in myself to fix things? You and I and all of us are equally created for maximum everything. But imagine if your computer, for instance, hadn't been updated for years. You're operating on software from like ancient software years ago. How would it be running? Slow, freezing, not doing the things you want? The software needs to be updated. Where's the software I'm talking about for us? It's here. It's our consciousness. It's your emotional patterns. It's your intellectual patterns. Most of us haven't updated this software fully, ever. And imagine if you had a computer or any device, and you just never updated it. You'd never gotten the new versions of anything. And it was still operating like it was 15 years ago or 20 years ago. It would be impossible. So the truth is that we're wired for consciousness. We're wired for awakening. But we need to do something. We can't just imagine that it's going to happen completely. What do most of us do to deal with all of these things I'm talking about? We try to control everything possible at all times. Control freaks, you know who you are, right? The real ones never raise their hands, by the way, because I told them to raise their hands, so they don't do it. I want to talk to you about shifting in your life from management to mastery. Management to mastery. Management. Most of us try to just manage everything. We try to manage ourselves. We try to manage people. We try to manage situations. We try to manage our thoughts. We try to manage our feelings. And think that feeling like a successful person, an awakened person, an enlightened person means that everything's under control. Everything's being well managed at the time. There's no emergencies or anything like that. And I always say that, you know, priding yourself on controlling everything is like being proud that you're the warden of a well-run prison, meaning yourself, you see, having to watch yourself, watch your thoughts, watch your feelings, watch what's going on. That's not mastery. It's management. Mastery is something different. Mastery means mastering things from the inside out, going to the source inside, clearing out a lot of that debris so that instead of having to control everything, you're in a place of much more living mastery. You're clearing out things that sabotage you. You're aware of your own patterns and issues, so you're not projecting them, and as I always say, seeing the world through the eyes of your issues, which we all do. Mastery. Working on your inner mastery. Being able to stay centered. Being able to not pound down all the negative thoughts that are coming when they come, or turn them into positive thoughts, but shifting from what I call positive thinking to positive vibrating, to get yourself in a place where you're actually vibrating from balance, love, wisdom, compassion, understanding, by doing whatever work you need to do to get there, so that you're not having to control and watch everything. Remember that movie from years ago, some of you will, Caddyshack, where they had the little moles come up and they would like hit them down on the golf course. It was Bill Murray. Then they'd pop up over here and they'd hit them down again. A lot of us live our lives, in a sense, playing emotional whack-a-mole, you know? It's like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm scared, I'm nervous, right? Calm down, be confident, get it together. And then it pops up over here. And then it pops up over here. And we run around trying to push down our anxiety or push down our fears or push down our nervousness or whatever it is. That's management. So just even contemplating, how can I shift more from management to mastery in my life? Where am I trying to manage everything? What makes me manage things or other people in that way? You know, am I connecting to my own inner mastery? This gets to one of the most important things that I teach and that I want to share with you, and that is that transformation or personal growth is not an intellectual event. It is not getting smarter. It's not collecting a lot of material on self-improvement. It's not taking a lot of notes, though note-taking is great. It's a vibrational shift from the inside. It's not a collection of experiences. I went to this conference and I went to this and I did this and I visited this person and I went to South America. That's experiences. They're fine. But that's not transformation. It's collection. Transformation is a vibrational shifting from one way of being to another. It happens in your consciousness. It doesn't happen in your mind. It means getting your revelations out of your notebooks, getting the study out of notebooks or out of whatever, and actually living them. And this is what I'm known for talking about. Living them. And not thinking that if you hear enough smart people talking, eventually you're going to get it together. It's the difference between having all the ingredients for a cake and baking it. I tell a story in Soul Shifts. about, and I know a lot of people like this, and I know you do too, about the difference between talking about growing and shifting and actually shifting. Talking about really awakening yourself and actually doing it. So imagine for a minute that somebody decides they're going to bake this amazing cake, and the cake is called enlightenment or awareness or whatever it is. And so they decide they want to get the best ingredients, So they're telling you about this, so you come over to their house, and she says, oh my gosh, I just got back from my trip, and I am so excited. The cake of enlightenment. First of all, let me tell you, I got eggs. I had to go up to Northern California, and I went to a special farm where they actually chant the ancient scriptures to the chickens. And then when they lay the eggs, the vibration is amazing. So I got those amazing eggs. And while I was there, I actually had a psychic reading with the person who owns the chickens. But that's another story. Then I wanted to get special flour that had been ground and originally grown from ancient seeds. So I went down to Peru, and I spent weeks hiking up, and I met a shaman, and he took me to these fields, and there was this special flour that had been ground centuries and centuries ago. I think I remembered a past life when I was there. But anyway, I got this amazing flour. And then for the sugar, I wanted to get the purest sugar in the world. So I went to the Hawaiian Islands, and I hiked underneath a waterfall, and I found sugar that they claim had been originally coming from the volcano. So this person's telling you about all this amazing, I went here, I saw this, I met this person blessed the sugar, the flour, and where's the cake? See, where's the cake? The cake isn't the ingredients. The cake is what happens when you bake the ingredients. This is a great metaphor that I made up to explain your path of growth. I bet you have tons of great ingredients. Hopefully you're getting some more today. You have to bake the cake. Bake the cake. What does that mean? It means to do the inner work. It means to look inside, to see what's in the way. What is the oven? It's the oven of your own spiritual practices, if you have them. It's the oven of contemplation. It's the oven of working with other people. It's the oven of looking inside yourself, being really honest with yourself. The heat of seeing, feeling, and knowing. So that you're baked, in the good sense of the word. And when you're baked, you can't point to the ingredients anymore, can you? You see? When there's a cake, if you had a cake tonight, where are the eggs? You can't see them. Where's the flour? You can't see it. There's been an alchemy between the ingredients and experience. Real transformation, living the life you want, whatever it is. Whether you're just starting to do that, whether you're in a later part of your life like I am and really wanting to make sure you do it. Baking the cake means combining knowledge and deep experience together. You can't skip that step. I talk about this all the time because there's a lot of spiritual shopping going on the planet. Somebody says, I went here, I saw this lecture, I did this for an hour. And those are wonderful things, but they need to be put in the oven, getting all your revelations out of your notebooks, right? Or whatever it is that you do, and actually saying, am I living these things? What do I need to do? How do I need to look at myself? This is the shift from management to mastery. Understanding that transformation is a vibrational event. You don't have to tell yourself that you want to be different. You are different. And you've all had these, right? You've had these spontaneously. There's certain parts of you, many of you, that you know you couldn't go back to if you tried, right? You couldn't be the way you were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. There's been an alchemy. It happened. But that same thing has to be true for becoming a more conscious person, becoming a more loving person, whether you want to serve people in a career or not. It doesn't matter. Your growth can't happen in your head. The maps in your head can help. It has to happen inside of yourself. You have to be open to that and willing to understand that. Because transformation has to be vibrational. You are all just vibrational beings. Physics tells us that we're all matter that's vibrating at a particular speed. And if it's vibrating very, very quickly, then it looks very alive. If it's vibrating very, very slowly, it looks like a rock. But everything, all of us, are made of the same vibrating light, actually. This is now what physicists are talking about, not spiritualists, but physicists, that we are just vibrating particles. Knowing that our vibrating particles can change how they vibrate. Everything affects us. Everything we see, everything we eat, everything we feel. And we can literally shapeshift ourselves, our consciousness, and rearrange how we're vibrating, how we're, in a sense, configured. All of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your ideas come from your consciousness. And that's the level on which we need to change. You can, as I said, you can watch your thoughts like, a prison guard. You can try to change your feelings or stuff them down or whatever it is. But the source of those is your consciousness. And when you do things that allow that to expand, your thoughts will naturally be better. Your feelings will naturally be better. You'll naturally be more in tune. The connection between your outer self and your inner consciousness will be a clear highway. You want to know something, you'll get a great idea. You don't know how to solve something, suddenly you'll feel it. This is how I've been living for a long time. This is what all the great saints talk about. You have that consciousness, because it's the consciousness. But how do you get everything untangled? How do you get everything out of the way? And all of this is just here to encourage you to do whatever it is, the work you need to do, and not just be a collector, a spiritual collector or an intellectual collector, but to actually be a transformer, which is a very different process. What this will create is what I call vibrational credibility. Vibrational credibility. When people meet you, in 3 seconds, they have an opinion of you, even when you haven't opened your mouth. So just think of all the care we take to no, I want to sound smart, and I want to do this and that. It's too late. See, 3 seconds. It's too late. They're like, got it. Scared, this, that, open, this, not smart. What are they feeling? And I'm not talking about people who judge other people on how they look or their religion, etc. But what are they feeling? I explained in Soul Shifts that each of us is like a planet, and we have an atmosphere around us, an actual vibrational atmosphere that's radiating from us all the time. And physics now is talking about the fact that this is true. There's an electromagnetic expression coming from our whole being, coming from your heart that goes out, like 10, 20 feet around you. It's actually a pulse. What is that based on? It's based on what's happening in here. So when, in the 60s, when I grew up, we talked about your vibes, we knew we were onto something. People do have vibes. They're actual vibes. They can now measure them. I predict, long after I'm gone from the world, maybe some of you younger people, that they'll be able to just have some little machine and go in somebody's field around them and say, you're this, you're that, you have a little anger, you're this, your body, your spine, right? Not even touching you, because of being able to read the readout in your field around you. So we're all walking planets with an atmosphere. And people come into your atmosphere and they feel everything. They feel everything. Not just what's going on then, they feel the quality of your vibration. Is it jaggedy? Is it open? Is it have a lot of debris in it? Old debris, stuff that, space junk that you haven't processed out. They feel the good things coming, but then they're kind of colliding with strange vibes, and none of us is conscious, and no one's thinking about it. They just go, he doesn't seem that confident, or I like her, but I don't know, she seems stand up. They can't even articulate it. But people, whether you're going in for a job interview, whether you're trying to get a client, whether you're trying to get a date, whether it's with your family, they're feeling everything. The illusion that because we have skin, we're keeping in our feelings and what happens in our thoughts. And if we look good, no one can tell, or if we're smiling, is delusion, really. Because everyone can feel everything. And you've all had this, right? You meet somebody in 2 seconds, you just go, connection. I don't even know why, I just feel so connected. Somebody else, somebody says, oh, I'm introduce you to my new boyfriend. And you meet them and go, I don't like the guy. He hasn't said a word. Something about him. I don't know what it is. He feels funny to me. You're feeling all kinds of things. And people are feeling it about you as well. Vibrational credibility means that there's coherence between how you're vibrating on the inside and what you're saying and doing on the outside. So you're talking about being loving and kind to people. It means that you're actually vibrating that way. You're not walking around going, you know, I hate this person, I'm never forgiving them. It means that if you're talking about changing the planet and positive things and loving everybody, that you're loving yourself. And that you don't sit and give a lecture about loving people or loving your body or whatever you do, and then go and beat yourself up for the lecture and basically take yourself down. Vibrational coherence, that there's a vibration of sameness. When you see anyone like this, a great saint, the Dalai Lama, anyone who has tremendous vibrational coherence, it's an amazing thing to be around somebody like that, because you're feeling no dissonance, you see. You're feeling inside, outside. It's a beautiful, expanded feeling. It raises the vibration of everybody. This is what all the work should be about. How do I get myself to be vibrating at the highest level possible? The most harmonious level, the most expanded level, the most synchronized level to the highest things in life. That means doing some vibrational cleaning, and that means paying attention to everything. When we don't have vibrational credibility, we become what I call wobbly. Wobbly. You know, if you're ever sitting at a table, hopefully not these, but like at a restaurant, and you go to sit down, and suddenly you realize the table is wobbly. It drives you crazy, doesn't it? And so you want somebody to put something under one of the legs, because wobbly tables make us anxious. If you had a really expensive item, like some kind of vase from your grandmother or a priceless artifact, and there was a wobbly table, you wouldn't put it on that table. It wouldn't be stable enough. Wobbly for us means when you're vibrationally wobbly, that one area of your life is really strong. Maybe you have your health really together and your money, but emotionally you haven't worked on it that much, and so it's wobbly. And you see people like this all the time. You see very famous people who you think have everything collapse, take their own lives, because they're wobbly. They had one area of tremendous mastery and another area that had no mastery or a little bit of mastery. Then you see people on the other extreme, people who have done a lot of emotional work and they're very loving, but they're not paying attention to their body or their health, or they're not paying attention to their outer life. So it's wobbly. Most of us have some kind of wobbliness, but a lot of people have a lot of wobbliness. So the question for yourself is to ask, where am I wobbly? To be honest, and write it down and do some homework on it. Where am I wobbly? Where is there not as much mastery? And here's the thing, human nature, none of us like to do things we're not good at. So if you're really good at goals and achievement and activity, you want to keep doing that all the time. If you're not so good, for instance, at emotions, you're going to want to avoid that part, because who wants to feel incompetent? So we tend to do the things that we're better at and keep strengthening them, and not work on the areas where we're the most wobbly. And that's what's needed. So this is a great concept to just begin to think, where am I wobbly? Where am I unbalanced? Where have I been putting, if I had to give a number, mastery, maybe 8 with food and my health and exercise, maybe, 7 or 8 with my career and my focus and my goals, maybe 3 with my relationships, wobbly, and to just assess, not judge. How do we do it? We Today I'm going to see what there is to see, to feel what there is to feel, and to know what there is to know. Am I wobbly is a great, great doorway for revelation. And one of the ways, by the way, we get out of thinking about that is we decide certain things don't count. So you can also ask yourself, what am I telling myself doesn't count? It doesn't count that, my physical space is always a mess because I'm really busy. It doesn't count that I don't, not really good at talking to people because I'm not going to be a public speaker anyway. When you start deciding that certain things don't count, it's usually the areas you feel weakest in, and you're trying to convince yourself that it's okay to be wobbly. So it's a really great little trick to find out more about what's happening inside of yourself. I was saying before how you're all wired for awakening, wired for greatness. And we're supposed to take a break in a second. I have a lot more I want to do with you, and we're going to do questions and answers, etc. So we'll do that on the schedule as they have it. Where I live in Santa Barbara, there are a lot of trees around my house, and I have a lot of wind chimes in the trees because I love wind chimes. I went out last week because something was wrong and I couldn't tell what it was. I just felt like something's different about the house. And there had been a big windstorm. And when I went out, I realized that the wind had been so strong, it had tangled up all the chimes hanging down from the wind chimes. What I was experiencing was the lack of sound, that there was no chimes, there was no tinkling sound. I couldn't tell what was missing or that anything was missing, but I knew something was not the same. I untangled the strings and could hear the wind chimes again. And in that moment, I realized this is exactly what I teach about, which is that we are all designed to create a beautiful sound of love, of creativity, upliftment. We have all the parts, but we get tangled by the winds of life, the winds of difficulty, the winds of suffering, the winds of despair. And we don't even know we're tangled because we're off doing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. We don't even miss that sound of our own heart because we get used to not feeling as much, loving as much, being as passionate. But indeed, it's missing. So I want to leave you for this section with the thought that, quote, working on yourself from the inside out is the most sacred activity because you're untangling the things that have gotten tangled or twisted, the patterns that have gotten wrapped around you, so that the music of your soul, which is exquisite, the music of love, the music of the human divine in your form, in your particular package that's unique, can play in a harmonious way so that when people are in your presence, they feel vibrationally uplifted. When they walk into your energy field, they don't want to walk out. They don't want to leave. They just want to be standing there with you, or buy what you have, or sign up to be your patient, or whatever it is, or just love you. So that as you walk through the world, you are literally, with your harmonious vibration, according to physics, recalibrating everybody like a tuning fork recalibrates things just by walking by them, just by being somewhere, just by meditating or doing your prayers or whatever it is. You are literally, vibrationally contributing to the planet, because the truth is, we don't decide one day we're going to try to make a difference. We don't have to get a career or a degree to make a difference. You don't have a choice. You are making a difference all the time. The question is, what difference are you making? Are you creating harmony? Are you creating contraction? You are literally, physically, right now, vibrating out certain electromagnetic fields and certain frequencies that are affecting the planet, just as I am. So wherever you are in your life in terms of what you want to do is one thing. But how do I want to be is a different question. And when you can be at your highest vibrational level, then whatever you bring it to, whether it's volunteering or being a doctor, you will be bringing your highest, most awakened energy into that offering. Your cake will be delicious, and you will be making the highest difference that all of us can make, which is to help bring the planet and everybody in it to the most awakened place. That is all of our purpose, whether we do it and anyone ever knows about it or not. That's what we're here to do. And if you even begun to wake up at all, which you have, and you're certainly more awake than you were an hour and a half ago even, so if you're even waking up at all in your consciousness, then we remember, you know, I'm here to help wake everybody else up, and to do that, I need to stay awake. I need to wake up and stay awake and not go back to sleep. So I hope I've helped in this first section to do that for you, that you feel more awake to your consciousness, awake to what it is, and also better about understanding the symptoms and the things, so that instead of saying, you know, I was happier before I was growing, because this is what people always say, you know, it's like, when my sister doesn't do anything and she seems happier than I am, and I'm always looking at something to work on and learn about. Yes, because you're a member of the Cosmic Advance Team. We have to be what is leading, vibrationally leading, in whatever way you do it, in whatever place you do it. And that's how we will be and are, and already just did, change the world. So this is my first session, right? We have a first session. That's my first session.